Jai Jagannath. So here we are. This is another um, meeting. We are discussing today what is the issue that we want, the point that we want to analyze today, examine today.
Jai Jagannatha. So I wanted to ask about surrender, Saranagati. What is
Uh,
Saranagati?
yeah,
It is
Saranagati,
different. Yeah.
surrender. This is a very nice question. Thanks. So Saranagati is a factor, is a component of bhakti or devotion. The idea of surrender is that we recognize that God has a better plan for us than any plan we can ever have. Because as the saying goes, man proposes and God disposes. We have this relationship, these sentiments, these feelings of devotion to God in a personal form according to our Ishtadevata feelings. So we can see God as Krishna, as Ram, as Vishnu, Shiva Mahadev, as a mother goddess, but still these are all personalities of God. So when we speak about bhakti, we are talking about a personal relationship with God. Now, it is interesting to analyze the idea of God that many people have. According to the current, the globalized, generalized Abrahamic concept, God is the supreme person, which means there are many different persons, individual different persons, and the God that we choose is the best one, or the most powerful, or the only true one. While the other personalities of God are inferior or even false. This perspective is not really what to say, compatible with Hinduism and Vedic, the Vedic approach, because we know that Vishnu is not different or separated from Shiva, for example. One of the 10 offenses that are listed in the Parama Karuna is sometimes mistranslated into saying that it is offensive to see the devas on the same level of Vishnu. In fact, there is a gross translation error there, and the actual word is not being on the same level, but being separated. So we can understand that this changes the whole game. We should not see God as one personality, one person that's separated from the devas. The devas are the limbs of the body of God. God is one, but it's also many. So when we establish a devotional relationship, a bhakti relationship with God, we establish, especially with our Ishtadeva, but that is not against the other personalities of God. This is why, because sometimes the concept of surrendering has been interpreted, the Saranagati has been interpreted in a very sectarian manner. But even in the tradition, the parampara, where this misunderstanding has developed, we find the great acharyas like Rupa Goswami, for example, that wrote in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, if I'm not mistaken, the verse is very famous and very quoted, which is Shrutis Vriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhimbina Aikantika Harer Bhakti Uppatayaiva Kalpate, which means that the so-called exclusive devotion for Hari, for Vishnu, that is not in accordance with all the Shruti and Smriti and all the Puranas, etc., and with the knowledge of the Tantra, especially the Pancharatra, is not really a good thing. The translation sometimes is given, I think it's actually a very strong translation, very, Utpatayaiva Kalpate, it's a useless disturbance to society, which is, may seem a little bit excessive, because we say, okay, whoever is chanting the name of God, they're devotees, so they're all good. The problem is that what they present as God, because if their idea of God is actually creating a disturbance in society, it's based on sectarianism, or you have people fighting each other in the name of God, then it's not really useful, because exclusive devotion to Hari should make us understand that Hari, of Vishnu, is the supreme personality of Godhead, rather than the supreme person. I don't know if this is clear.
Yeah, till this point it's clear.
Perfect. If you have any questions or objections, you please interrupt me. I like being interrupted. Okay.
Sure.
So, the idea of Saranagati means that we have actually established a fundamental relationship with God, in the sense that we trust God. This is what is written in the currency notes in the United States. In God we trust. I don't think so. They don't trust in God, they trust in money, which is different. This is what they put it on the money. Money is their God. So they call it God, and they trust in that God that, it's money, but they call it God. So this is the problem. The problem is that what we think God is. Now, if we study a little bit, just the Bhagavad Gita, we see that Krishna is showing his universal form. And this form contains everything that exists, and there are innumerable divine forms. All the manifestations, all the personalities of God are God. So, if someone prefers Krishna, someone prefers Shiva, someone prefers some other goddess, someone prefers Hanuman or Ganesh or Surya, okay, what's the problem? Because they're all aspects of God. Of course, you don't have to worship all these forms at the same time. You can choose one, you can focus on one, you dedicate your strong sadhana on that particular form, and this is perfectly okay. But we should not offend the other forms of God, because that is like, you have a friend to show your friend that you love him, you offer nice food to his mouth, and you, hurt his feet with a hammer because you want to show more devotion to his mouth. Which is like, it's not very, very intelligent. So, the direct connection that the devotee has to his dear Ishadeva, the form of God that he is most attracted and most attached, is going to become reciprocal very easily if it is real, if it is a real relationship. God will test us a little bit, but will give us a lot of good opportunities for our personal growth. We know that God is intelligent, so because God is a person, is not a limited person, but is still a person. So a person has intelligence, has knowledge, understanding, and God is all of this in totality. So this is why we say that God has a plan. Everything happens for a reason. There is a science in the laws of nature, but these laws of nature have been established deliberately with an act of intelligence and understanding and compassion. So we just need to understand, as much as possible, why things are happening. This is the meaning of surrender. Surrender means that when something is happening, because we trust God to, be there for us, to be attentive to us, to be aware of us, of whatever is happening, we surmise, we start with a little bit of faith that whatever is happening must have a meaning. That the universe is not just chaos. This is the difference between a theist and an atheist. A theist is someone who believes in God as a person, and an atheist is someone who doesn't believe that God is a person. Of course, again, we have to understand that God as a person is not limited as the persons, the material personalities we meet in the material world that have a lot of limitations, defects and bad qualities, shortcomings, and so on. As a definition, God doesn't have any of these limitations or shortcomings. So whatever happens, we are first of all, we make the choice to consider how these things that have been happening, or the things that are supposed to happen, they're going to happen, can be in God's plan, and what is the meaning, what they are indicating about God's plan. There is another popular saying in the West that is a blessing in disguise. I think you heard it. It's a very interesting English saying,
Yeah.
which is highlighting this idea of Saranagati, surrender. Whenever something happens to us that looks like some bad thing, some disgrace, some tragedy, some ill fortune, we have to consider whether it could be a blessing in disguise. What is changing with this new event? Is this giving us the opportunity to grow, to become better persons? Is it giving us freedom from a previous situation where we were stuck? The best example is death. Now, people today are very afraid of death, much more than they used to be, because in ancient times, with a clear perception of reincarnation and the immortality of the soul and the identity, nature of the soul, people were not so afraid of dying, because they say, okay, yeah, what's the big deal? Like Krishna says in Gita at the beginning, everyone who has taken birth will have to die, and everybody who has died will take a new body. So it's not a big deal at all. If we die in the sense that, we are suffering a lot, we are stuck in a body that doesn't work anymore, what's the problem of dying? So sometimes death could be a liberation. Could be a blessing in disguise, because it allows us to get out of a very difficult situation. Of course, we have to be very careful here, because this doesn't mean that suicide is a good idea. We have to clarify this very well, because most people today, in the current culture, commit suicide because of mental problems, not because of actual material problems. They are not able to control their mind. So their mind is creating a lot of suffering for them. So they cannot see any way out from the difficulties, created by their mind, so they kill themselves. That is a big mistake. Because when we, if we commit suicide, we kill ourselves, we don't give up our mind, we just give up our material body. And our material body is a very valuable instrument by which we can actually change our situation in this world. So if we give up our material body and we just stay with the mind that is actually the one that is creating the real trouble, we can understand that our situation does not improve at all. So as long as we have a material body that is working enough to improve our situation in this world, improve our karma, to improve our personal evolution, material spiritual evolution, as long as we have the even the smallest chance of working, using our body to work ourselves out of a difficult situation, then we should never commit suicide, because it's not healthy. But if our body has no chance of recovering, like we see in terminal patients who are just going on life support machinery, what is the point? It's not that death is a bad thing, is an absolute. We need to learn to accept death, when it is inevitable, and in a, what to say, open-minded way. So we trust God's plan. We trust that we are Atman. Then whatever will happen, we are going to the new situation. Why not? And many times we may have to die figuratively in one lifetime. Like, for example, we may move to another country, which is a kind of death, because you're not going to see your friends, your old friends, relatives, and places and everything anymore. So it's a kind of death. Or if you change job in a very drastic way, like for example, you used to be I don't know, like university professor, then you lose your job and you become something else. You start doing something else, like maybe you can become a physical training coach. It's a completely different life. It's a completely different environment, completely different people, completely different things that you do. So in a sense, it's a kind of death. And there are minor deaths as well. Like, for example, when someone gets married, they leave their old family, and their old way of life, and they start to have a different family, even if it's the same family, but it's a bigger family with different dynamics and a different way of life, because when someone marries, they become responsible for the house keeping, for the house management. Usually in large families, in extended families, the wife joins the family of the husband, but the husband becomes the head of the family, because the husband's parents are retired. So according to the Vedic system, they should start going to pilgrimage. They don't need to go in the forest, because there are no more forests. Like the Shastras say, Panchasordhvam manam vrajet. After 50 years of age, one should go to the forest. Okay, there are no forests. Oh, okay, no problem. But the idea is that one should give up the attachment to the home, to the family, to the social entertaining, the social things. So when they retires, they should think more about the future, about death, about the next destination, and so on. So it's a kind of it's a smaller death, and it's a smaller rebirth. If we, because we start a different type of life. So when we go to school, we start going to school, we start a different kind of life, and so on. So in all these changes, we can face the inevitably changing, constantly changing phase of material nature through surrender to God, because we know that God has a plan. So what is coming is a good thing. It's prasad. It's a blessing of God. Whatever comes, we take it as a blessing of God, and we see, if we like it, and maybe it is going to be an acquired taste. We have to learn how to appreciate what we are getting. It may take some time, adjustment, but it's for our own good, because otherwise what we do, if we remain attached to the previous situations, that previous situations are not existing, are not good for us anymore, good for anyone anymore, what is the benefit? We are not doing anything good. So in devotional service, we trust God, we surrender to God, because we know that whatever plan God has for us is good for us. So we keep the attitude, the approach of examining the situation, and we try to understand, how is this good? How is this Krishna Prasad? Bhagavad Prasad, whatever form we are worshipping, whatever form is our Ishtadevata. We have to think, why God is sending this to me now, at this time, in this situation, in this place. This is Saranagati. On another level, or inner level, Saranagati refers to humility. Like we have a lot of evidence and examples, especially if we want, because we know better best the tradition of Krishna Chaitanya. So we know the Sikshastaka, the 8 verses that are attributed directly to Krishna Chaitanya, are all about being humble, all about being surrendered. If we read the Sikshastaka, we see that Chaitanya is praying Krishna, is praying his Istadeva. And he says, you can do whatever you want. You can, neglect me or crush me in your embrace, but I know that this is all good. So I am always going to be, to love you and to serve you, because I know that whatever you're doing it for the good purpose. So sometimes we hit some dry spells on our journey on the path of devotion, the Bhakti Marga. And it's like, when we travel by ship, sometimes we get into the shallows, so it's not going much. Or, there's not so much wind. And then Saranagati means is, okay, we are in this situation, what to do? We depend on God. Whatever God will send, we get it when we get it. So this is also, for example, expressed in the Adi Shankar's Gita Govinda, Bhaja Govinda. In the Bhaja Govinda song, he's praying. He's praying, God, please take me away from this samsara, from this situation. So this means that we are still in the samsara, physically at least. So we'll have to tolerate, like Krishna says in Gita, we have to tolerate joys and sorrows. They come and go. Because as long as we have a body and a mind, we are going to have them, joys and sorrows, due to the body and mind. Like Krishna says, that joys and sorrows are due to the contact of the senses with the sense objects. And we are talking about the senses are in the body and in the mind. So the sense objects are material objects, gross and subtle. So that's because we have a body and a mind. If we don't have a body and a mind, we are not going to suffer. So Saranagati in this perspective means that we tolerate whatever comes. We accept the joys as Krishna's blessing, God's blessing, and we accept the sorrows as the inevitable price we pay for being in this world and having to do this job, and we pay the price, and that's okay because it's not a very big price. If we manage our expenditures in the expenditures in the sense of sorrows. If we manage our life, we are careful about what we do, we are not going to have so many sorrows. So, we can have a very good karmic management and keep it under control, largely under control, so we don't have so many sufferings. Okay, until now, any question, any elaboration?
Yeah, like what you've spoken about is your internal, maybe your emotional response to any reversals or the results you're getting. If we talk in terms of actions, your karma. So when we are performing that, what should be the mood? If let's say I am surrendered to one particular deity, Krishna or someone. So
Yeah.
how I would be performing my actions? I have to think through, plan it, or I just do my duty and how?
Yeah, we have to understand what is our duty. The Bhagavad Gita speaks at length about this particular point, because it starts with Arjuna asking Krishna, what is my actual duty? Because some people say my duty is to protect my family, but now I'm here on the battlefield, and my relatives, my family want to kill me, because they want to use the kingdom in a bad way, in a selfish way, without caring to protect the projects. So what is my actual duty? It's not always easy to understand what your duty is, because some people may tell you that it is your duty to mistreat your wife. So, maybe not. Some people actually mistreat their children very badly, and they think they're doing a very good thing, because that's the duty as the parents, to punish the children. So we have to actually understand what is our duty. Now, one thing is a knowledge. So we say, for example, in the Prashnottara Ratnamalika, which is the first book that I translated many years ago, there is a nice question. It's a book of questions and answers. So the question is, what is adharma? And Adi Shankar replies, adharma is what aggrieves, gives suffering to good people. So if you're mistreating a child because you want the child to have the top marks in class, in all the subjects that the child is not, particularly equally attracted to. You want the top marks, so you beat the child because he's not getting top marks, or because he speaks up. Child should never speak up. If you're doing that, good people will be aggrieved. They will say, "Why are you doing this? The poor child has not done nothing wrong. Why you're beating him up? Why are you mistreating the child? You don't see the child is scared. He's doing his best. Why are you treating him like that? Why are you making him suffer like that?" So the idea of duty, first of all, has to be very clear. This is why Arjuna had to fight in Kurukshetra. Because, his duty of a Kshatriya was to protect the kingdom, not to protect his own family. This is exactly the opposite of the politics we see, we have seen in the last few centuries, like the dynasties and stuff. This is not the Kshatriya way. The dynasty in the Kshatriya and Vedic Kshatriya mentality is a Kula Dharma. Is not protecting each other, when our family members do bad things against the kingdom. So it's a lot of ignorance that comes into the picture based mostly on body identification. So we think that Duryodhana is a cousin of Arjuna, so the duty of Arjuna is to protect his family and make Duryodhana happy. Don't fight. Lots of elders in the family, grandfathers, who say, "Don't fight." But if Duryodhana is bad and is destroying the kingdom and is doing so many bad things, duty is first dharma. So, the first step is to actually understand what your duty is. Second step, Bhagavad Gita is also saying, "Balam balavatam asmi kamaraga vivarjita." Krishna says, "I am the strength of the strong that is free from personal selfish desire and attachment." So, when you do what is right without personal selfish interest, either for you or for your group, that is something you should actually do. That is dharma. So we know the basic principles of dharma are truthfulness, honesty, then compassion or non-violence, then purity or cleanliness, and self-control. These are the four most basic principles of dharma. And if you remember the beginning of the Bhagavata Purana, we find Maharaj Parikshit, who meets the Kali Purusha, who is cutting the legs of dharma. And the three legs are gone already, and the last leg is strongly under attack. So the last leg of dharma is truthfulness. So if truthfulness is cut and destroyed, there can be no dharma standing. So we need knowledge. We need knowledge and detachment, jnana and vairagya. The knowledge to understand what our duty is in accordance to time, place, person, situation. We have to apply the knowledge of what dharma is, what is the duty. We have to use our brain. In Bhagavad Gita is called the yoga of intelligence, the buddhi yoga. Krishna said, Dadami buddhi yogam tam, yena mamupayanti te. It's we only through the buddhi yoga we can attain God. Because if we, what to say, abandon, deny, reject our intelligence, and we refuse to engage in buddhi yoga, we cannot really, be in a relationship with, in a direct personal relationship with God. We cannot even approach God. What to speak of having a relationship. So, we have jnana, which means intelligence, knowledge, what we are doing, what is actually dharma, what I'm supposed to do, what is my duty. And then we have vairagya in the sense that we know what is our duty. When we know what is our duty, then we do whatever is right to do without being attached to the selfish benefit that we can get. Like the Gita is also saying, another very famous verse, Karma nieva adhikaraste, bhafalesu kadachana. You have the adhikar to do your karma. Karma in the sense of duty. The actions, You have the right to act, to work, to do things, to make choices. But you're never entitled automatically to the results, because the results will come if they come. They don't come, they don't come. That is called vairagya, or renouncement. So we need jnana and vairagya. Then, we also jnana and vairagya can be at different levels. We have a basic level, then we have an intermediate level, and we have the higher level. At the highest level of jnana and vairagya, we have already left all the bad habits, the attachments, identifications. And then we can actually attain the real bhakti. Like we see at the end of Gita, Krishna is saying, Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Means that only after we have attained that highest level of jnana and vairagya, we can transcend jnana and vairagya, and we can be in total Saranagati. We cannot be in total Saranagati at that level, at the transcendental level, unless we have attained this platform that Krishna describes as Brahma Bhuta, which is very clearly demonstrated by being Prasannatma, always satisfied, na sochati na kankshati, never actually worried, and never strongly desiring anything, sama sarveshu bhuteshu, and being totally equal towards all beings, all situations. Then we can be in the highest level of Saranagati that can do without jnana and vairagya. You understand?
Yes.
It's a difficult level to even understand, because transcendental also means achintya. It transcends the limits of our material intelligence. Our intelligence needs to become spiritualized to actually understand that level. But it is possible. It is possible. So does this answer your question?
Yeah, slightly. But one more thing in that, like surrender verse, Krishna says Sarva Dharman Parityaja. And here we talked about duties also. So
Yes.
are like those, isn't it contradictory? Because he's saying Sarva Dharman Parityaja, you have to honor your duties.
We
And
have, yes, that's very interesting fact. Now here we have a very interesting grammatical point. Because Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja. It doesn't mean that you have to abandon Dharma. You have to abandon all the differences in Dharma. All the apparently different, opposite, competing duties. You have to surrender to Sanatana Dharma. Now the difference is we have to give up the Swadharma, which is a material application of Dharma, because it applies to the material guna and karma of the body and mind. But it doesn't say that you have to give up Dharma. You have to give up the differentiations between the different forms of Dharma, which is in the plural. But Dharma, the Sanatana Dharma is one, it's not plural. Sanatana Dharma is Mamekam Saranambraja, which means we surrender, we go to take shelter in God directly, as we were saying before. We accept any possible situation as a blessing of God. And we use this situation, whatever situation we find ourselves in, to serve God, to serve the universal community, Samak Bhutation. Not just in a particular way or in a particular situation, but in all situations. This Mamekam Saranam Raja is the typical approach of the sannyasi. So, in the chapter that is entitled Sannyasa Yoga, Krishna says that it is not, the real sannyasi is not someone who abstains from, cooking or, doing the puja and everything. Because you don't need to do that to be renounced. You just need to renounce the fruits of your work, both subtle and gross. The material benefits and the mental benefits. We have to give up. In that way, we can be sannyasis even if we have a regular job and a family and whatever. Because a sannyasi is a yogi, and a yogi is a bhakta. Sa sannyasi cha yogis cha. Sannyasi or a yogi or someone who has taken complete shelter in God is someone who does not identify with the material body and mind and has no material attachment, ahankara and mamatva. Now, in the Varna-shrama system is a social device, it's a social structure. So in the Varna-shrama system we have ahankar and mamatva. Because when you do your religious duties, you are saying, I am the karta. Right? So that is ahankara. I am doing this puja, I am doing this job. I am taking responsibility for this family. You know, you are using a lot the word I, aham. And this is also in the sankalpa of all the rituals. You know, when you do the religious rituals according to the Vedic system, you are giving the sankalpa of yourself. I am this person from this gotra doing this. I am doing ahankara. I am the doer. You understand? Because in the social system, the social structure, we need people to take responsibility. So we say, my duty. So we need to cultivate ahankar and mamatva, because otherwise we cannot do our duty in the society and the family. We need responsible people who do their duty, right? This is the meaning of swadharma. The swadharma of a brahmana is different from the swadharma of a shudra. The swadharma of a brahmachari is different from the swadharma of the grihastha or the swadharma of the sannyasi, because it's a swadharma, particularly pertinent to the material position, the ahankara and mamatva. Okay. Now, the point is that we need to go beyond ahankara and mamatva and to realize that we are the Atman. We are Atman Brahman. Like this verse we find also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think, that is Naham Vipro Nacharapati Nabhivashana Sudro Naham Varni Nagrihapati Nova Nashtayatirva Kintu Punyam, I am just a servant of Krishna. I'm not a brahmana or a kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. I'm not a brahmachari, grihastha, prasa, sannyas. I'm just a servant of Krishna. This is swadharman, sarvadharman, parityaja, mamekam saranagati. It's very simple. But still, because you are still in society, you still have a family, you still have a job, you cannot renounce the external performance of your swadharma. So you cannot just abandon the performance of your swadharma. You have to abandon the identification with the swadharma. This is the trick. Again, karma nieva di karastena ma falesu kadarshana. So we have to parityaja, to abandon what? The falesu, the fall. We have to abandon the sense of possession, ahankara and mamatva, over the fruits of the action, or the action itself. We have to see every action we do as a devotional service to Krishna. This is in Bhagavad Gita. Yad karoshi yadasnasi yadjuhosi dadasi yad. Kurusvat madharpana. Do it for me. You shouldn't do it because it's your swadharma. You should do it because, you offer it to me. And in the same way, we have Adi Shankara, and I think in the Sundarya Lahari, that says, let every act of mine being a mudra in your worship. Every gesture of my hand, every movement of my hand be a mudra. Every morsel of food I eat, let it be an ahuti, an offering into the fire of sacrifice of God's consciousness. Because everything we do, we can do it externally in a very proper manner, but internally in a very detached manner. Usually people do the opposite. They are very identified with the action, but the work they do is very sloppy. They only want the benefit. They only want the ahankara and mamatva, but the performance of their karmani, their activities, their duties, their swadharma is very sloppy if they do it at all. So we have the Brahmins who claim they're Brahmins, but they don't do any of their actual duties. So someone is going very proud and showing the Upavita and say, "Oh, I'm a Brahmin. Okay, what kind of Brahmin are you? What is your Swadharma? What are you doing as a Brahmin? Are you doing at least the Trisandhyam? Are you performing a homa every morning before your family starts cooking? What kind of Brahman are you?" This is the opposite, So instead of giving up the Swadharma as a position, ahankara and mamatva, he's just keeping that and giving up completely the internal dedication of his activities to God. So sometimes we say we shouldn't throw the baby out with the dirty bath water. When we do this kind of mentality, when we act on this kind of mentality, we are throwing the baby out and keeping the dirty water. Is that clearer?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So, sarva dharman parityaja mamekam saranam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami mahasucha. Is the same thing that Krishna told Arjuna. Well, actually, that is exactly what Krishna told Arjuna, because this is a verse from Bhagavad Gita. But, he has been telling Arjuna from the beginning to the end. Because Arjuna wanted to, avoid the path of killing his family. In the beginning, we have, the Arjuna Vishala Yoga, when Arjuna is very depressed because he thinks that, he's here and he has to kill his parents, his relatives, his friends and elders and everything. And how can that be his duty? So Krishna is saying, don't worry, you're not killing anyone. You are the Atman. You are doing your duty as a Kshatriya, but you should not be attached to the fruits. What is your duty as a Kshatriya? Your duty as a Kshatriya is to protect the prajas. To protect the prajas means if some bad people comes, and challenges you, and attacks you who have done nothing wrong, means that person is a bad person, is an aggressor. So your duty is to kill that person, but without ahankara and mamatva. You don't care if it is your relative or not. Don't identify as a relative killer of the relatives, because you're just doing your duty for the benefit of the entire universal community. Samaksarveshu bhuteshu. Why should we feel more inclined to some beings rather than others? What we need to have is this samasarveshu bhuteshu vision that we have to act for the greater good of the universal community. That is our higher duty. And who is the universal community? God. The Virat Rupa is the universal community. And Virat Rupa is a form of God, the Purusha, the Virat Purusha. So this is why we have to perform our duty only for the benefit of the universal community, not for the benefit of a small groups of people compared to others. The only criteria that we have to consider is not the birth of our personal relationships or whatever. The only criteria we need to keep is if that person is an aggressor that is creating a problem to the universal community or not. This is why it is also said that an honest person will appreciate the good qualities of someone who is considered an enemy and will condemn the bad qualities and mistakes of his own kith and kin. Because, we need to be honest. Without honesty, without truthfulness, there is no dharma. So, Mamekam Sarvabhaja Ahantam Sarvapapabhyo Mokshayishami. So even if we appear to do something bad, something that goes against the conventional social norms that can be considered pap, but still we are doing it for the universal community. We're doing it for the benefit of all. But we have to be extremely careful because it's easy to be confused by by the mental interference. This is why we have to keep checking with Guru, Shastra, Sadhu and Paramatma. Because if we allow our mind to convince us that that is what God wants, and actually something that is against Dharma, we are in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are too many people going around and saying, "Oh, God wants this, God wants that." Maybe not. There is a famous. You heard about the Crusades in the Middle Ages? In the Middle Ages, the Crusades were religious wars started by the Christians, especially some usually, not especially, the Christian leaders, like the Pope or, someone directly, under the Pope, some representative of the Pope who did what the Pope wanted. So they were going around and telling people, Deus vult, which in Latin means God wants it. So, they were telling people that the God wanted them to, give up everything, take up weapons and go and kill, the enemies of the Pope, basically. The Muslims make this idea of crusades mostly Christians against the Muslims, but it's not true. The Crusades were actually against anyone who was an enemy of the Church, the Pope. The first Crusade was actually against a group of Christians who were called the Cathars. Cathar in Greek, ancient Greek, means pure. These people were very serious Christians. The only problem is that they did not recognize the military and political authority of the Pope. So the Pope sent his men around telling people, God wants you to go and kill all these bad people, the Cathars. So in 20 years, 25 years, all the Cathars were killed. That was the first crusade, the crusade, the Albigensians crusade. So it's very easy for people to say, God wants this, God wants that. Okay, 1 minute. Let me check. Let me give a phone call to God and ask if it is true or not. So we can actually do that through Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, Paramatma. We are not, we are not expected to believe any any guy when he says God wants you to do this, or maybe not. So we are responsible for our own choices. And the end, we cannot claim someone else told me that. We need to be responsible. So Sarva Dharman Parityaja means give up all the differences in Ahankara and Mamatva. Mamekam, only to me, means one Dharma only, Sanatana Dharma. Saranam Braja, take shelter. Saranam is same like Saranagati. Saranam means taking shelter. So surrendering to God means taking shelter in God. Means whatever happens, I know that God is there. God will do whatever is best. When we say God will protect me, we have also to be careful, because sometimes we think that protection means that nothing will happen to us. We never die, we never lose anything, we never suffer, we never find ourselves in difficult situations. This is not the protection of God. This is our attachment to not suffering. Protection of God means that whatever happens, we can engage it in the service to God and do something good with it, not only for ourselves, but especially for the universal community. That is a real protection. So, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Aham, because God can really say aham. And He knows what He's talking about. From Sarva Papagyo Moksha. So, this is the meaning of the verse. We cannot allow bad people to use this verse to confuse us and make us do things against the Dharma, because that would be a gross distortion. Another verse that is often used in this regard, in this bad way, is this Apichet Suduracharo Bhajate Namananya Bhak. Right? Even if is committing the worst action, if someone is only worshipping me, Sadhureva Samantavya, he should be respected as a sadhu. So if we start explaining this verse from a sectarian point of view, we are toast already, we are cooked, because God is not sectarian. This Ananya Bhak means without any other considerations. Like you cannot say that you are worshipping Krishna, without any other consideration, you have unalloyed and exclusive devotion to Krishna, if you don't do what Krishna tells you to do. You cannot take a political organization and stick a label on it and call it Krishna. It doesn't work like that. So many people identify themselves, for example, just an example, as devotees of ISKCON instead of devotees of Krishna. Because what they are actually following is not what Krishna is telling them to do. They're following what the organization is telling them to do. So when the Apiche Suduracharo Bhajate Mamananyam Hak, what are they actually worshipping? And what is the Sudurachara? What is the bad behavior? When Krishna talking in Bhagavad Gita about this verse, the Sudurachara means, okay, you say bad words, you don't follow the social conventions, you engage in battle, you kill your uncle on Kurukshetra. Okay, that's Sudurachara. You don't torture children to make a political point. Krishna never said that. That's not worshiping Krishna. That's something else. So we need to understand the basics, because otherwise it's very easy. If we don't understand the basics of dharma and vidya, it's very easy for bad people to manipulate and confuse and exploit our goodwill, our sincerity, our innocence, we can say, because we are innocent. But we should get some deeper understanding. Okay. Is this explaining, answering your question?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. So, any comment?
No, nothing as such.
Okay. So we close here, and we will have another meeting next time. Jai Jagannatha,
Okay.
thanks for your participation.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.